Have you ever wondered what happened if you woke up with a pounding headache, a stuffy nose, or a burning fever 5,000 years ago? Long before modern pharmacies, white lab coats, and neon colored cough syrups existed, our ancestors had to face the exact same annoying sicknesses we do today. But they didn't have a safety net. There was no calling in sick to work, and there was definitely no Googling your symptoms at 2 in the morning to scare yourself into thinking a common cold was a rare tropical disease. If an ancient human got sick, they had to look around at the woods, the dirt, and the rivers and figure out a way to survive. It is easy for us to look back and think they just relied on pure luck, magic charms, or strange superstitions. But the truth is actually much more incredible. Ancient humans were brilliant observers of nature, and their way of curing themselves was a beautiful, thousands of years long game of trial and error. Let's take a journey back in time and see exactly how they did it, step by simple step. First, ancient humans did something we often forget to do today. They watched the animals. Imagine sitting quietly by a riverbank thousands of years ago, watching a sick bear dig up a specific bitter fern root and eat it, even though that root wasn't part of its usual diet. Early humans noticed this. They realized that animals instinctively knew which plants could settle an upset stomach, kill a parasite, or clean a wound. By literally copying the local wildlife, our ancestors slowly built the world's very first medical handbook, passing the knowledge down by word of mouth from parents to children. So, if you have ever seen a dog eat grass to settle its stomach, congratulations. You are watching the exact same school of medicine that kept your ancestors alive. One of the most amazing examples of this is how they treated everyday pain. If you have a headache right now, you probably pop an aspirin and forget about it. But did you know that thousands of years ago, people in ancient Greece and Egypt did something almost identical? They noticed that if you stripped the bark off a willow tree and chewed on it, your aches, pains, and fevers would magically start to fade. Now, fair warning, willow bark tastes absolutely terrible. It is incredibly bitter and chalky, but it worked. Why? Because that bark contains a natural chemical that is the exact active ingredient we use in modern aspirin today. They were literally harvesting maximum strength pain relief right off the tree branch. But let's talk about something a little more gross. What happened when a sickness was on the inside, like a terrible stomach bug from eating questionable berries? For that, ancient humans looked straight down at the dirt they walked on. They used clay and charcoal. Think about it. If an ancient person accidentally ate something toxic, they would swallow specific types of clean clay, or crush charcoal from the campfire. It sounds like a bizarre dare, but it is actually pure genius. The clay and charcoal act like a magnet and a sponge inside the stomach. They bind to the toxins and carry them safely out of the body before the poison can do any real damage. In fact, here is a fun twist. If you go to a modern hospital emergency room today for accidental poisoning, one of the very first things a doctor might give you is a drink made of activated charcoal. The ancient world figured that out thousands of years ago just by listening to their gut instincts. And then there was the ultimate enemy of the ancient world: infection. A simple scratch from a sharp rock, a splinter, or a minor scrape during a hunt could easily turn deadly if it got infected. Without modern antibiotics, ancient healers had to get creative, and their solution was as sweet as it was powerful. They used raw honey. From ancient Egypt to early Asia, healers would slather sticky, thick honey directly onto deep wounds and wrap them up in clean leaves. If you tried that today, your friends might think you are just making a sticky mess. But science proves the ancients were right. Honey naturally kills bacteria, keeps bugs away, and creates an airtight barrier that stops dirt from entering the skin. It was the world's very first antibacterial ointment. Of course, because this was a game of trial and error, not every ancient cure was a masterpiece. Some of their ideas were, well, a little wild. For instance, in ancient Babylon, if you had a pounding headache that wouldn't go away, the doctor might decide that a tiny, annoying demon had crawled into your skull. And how do you get a demon out? You give it an exit ramp. Healers would use a sharp stone tool to incredibly carefully drill a small hole into the patient's skull to relieve the pressure. It sounds like a total nightmare scenario, right? But here's the kicker. Archaeologists have dug up ancient skulls with these exact holes, and the bone had actually grown back and healed. That means the patients didn't just survive the operation, they lived for years afterward. It shows that even without modern anesthesia or electricity, these early surgeons had a mind-blowing level of skill and steady hands. Other times, the cures were just plain funny. In ancient Rome, doctors genuinely believed that boiled cabbage was a magical cure-all for everything from a broken bone to a bad mood. If you were feeling sick, the Roman doctor's advice was basically, eat more cabbage, and if that doesn't work, smash some cabbage on your skin. We might laugh at that now, but hey, at least they were getting their daily dose of vitamins. When you look at the whole picture, you realize that ancient medicine wasn't just a collection of old myths and silly stories. It was the birth of human curiosity. It was a story of ordinary people who refused to give up when faced with pain, mystery, and danger. They used their eyes, their minds, and the natural world around them to build the foundation for the medical science we enjoy today. The next time you take a sip of herbal tea, put a sticky bandage on a scrape, or take a painkiller, you are actually repeating a habit that kept your family line alive through the darkest, wildest nights of human history. Thank you so much for hanging out and sharing this journey into our past with me today. If you could choose one ancient remedy to try, would it be the willow bark or the cabbage? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to keep discovering the amazing, funny, and sometimes weird ways our ancestors survived, make sure to hit that subscribe button so we can explore more stories together. Take care of yourself, stay curious, and I will see you in the next video.